Hey, welcome to Weekday Coronavirus Driven Mind Stuff. This is George Ortega, and it is Wednesday, May 27th, 2020 at 10:30 p.m., and this is episode number 34. So, what I'm going to do for this episode is review an article that came out in the Washington Post today. The title of it is Coronavirus May Never Go Away, Even with a Vaccine. And the idea is that, like, to the extent we accept this reality, we can be guided into what to do next. Okay, so the article is written by William Wan and Carolyn Y. Johnson. And again, it was published today. So let's see what the major points are. So the idea is like, all right, so like, again, here's a quote. Even after a vaccine is discovered and deployed, the coronavirus will likely, not may, will likely remain for decades to come, circulating among the world's population. So hold on, I gotta getting some ad that's distracting me. Hold on for a second. So if I expand the page, then the ad disappears. All right. So like they basically liken this scenario to measles, HIV, chicken pox. And so the idea is like this goes from what they refer to as a pandemic, an epidemic of global proportions, to becoming endemic. And endemic means that it's just like with us, for decades, whatever. All right, so let's see. Yeah, they say that like the long-term nature of this should inform how we spend our money, going forward and what we do. Let's see. All right, what else? That doesn't mean the situation will always be as dire. Okay, apparently there are already 4 endemic coronaviruses. Yeah, but that causing the common cold. This isn't the common cold, so I don't understand why they would say that. What's the salience of that? All right, well, they do predict that the effects are going to grow milder, and I guess our bodies are eventually going to adapt. Well, I'm not sure how that works, because my understanding is that, like, you either have the antibodies or you don't. And if you don't, you get it, and then, it would seem to have its full effect. I mean, collectively, the immunity would spread. But in terms of individuals, I don't think our body will adapt to this unless or until it's infected by it. Okay. So most people, have not been infected. That's an important point. What else? Let's see. I'm going to try to all right. This virus is here to stay, says Sarah Covey, an epidemiologist and evolutionary biologist at the University of Chicago. The question is, how do we live with it safely? Now, well, that's one question. Another question is like, when are we going to wake up to the understanding that this virus was caused by farming animals, and that we're only, because this may be a warning from God, from nature, however you want to see it, that, what we've done to the climate. There's almost 1 billion really poor people on the planet that we could feed, clothe, lift out of poverty, but we don't. And then, this is not this goes on both sides of the aisle. For example, we abort as many people in this world as die of every other cause combined. So it's not just that this is the Republicans' fault. I mean, we Democrats have a lot to, and both Republicans and Democrats eat animals, so that's the main thing. Okay, so basically it's going to take long-range thinking, et cetera, yada, yada. Stamping out the virus could take decades, if it happens at all. Okay, that's encouraging, huh? All right, let's see. So most people are like, expecting that there's going to be like a magic bullet, they say, that just like, just like ends. I mean, that's Trump with his magical thinking, And, although Trump, suggesting that the summer heat is going to lessen the virus, I would guess the opposite. Brazil, other countries in the world that are hot, are having a really rough time with this. And the other thing is that as we're opening in the summer, people, I notice this every day, people get much closer to each other than they should, and that's going to just like, most people are in during the winter. Comes summer, people are going to be out more and not distancing. Okay, so a vaccine, while crucial to our response, is not likely to eradicate the disease. Huh. Because I guess it's gone so far. I'm not sure why that, why they say that. Yeah, I mean, if we had a vaccine and we just like, Manhattan Project, this World War II thinking of just like get it manufactured, get it to everyone, we could do this. But, let's see what our leaders want to do. Okay. And so we haven't yet developed kind of like reliable ways of measuring what strategies are working for us and what strategies aren't. Like, for example, Sweden's herd immunity strategy. Maybe it's too early to tell, but we need to and only time will tell how effective these various strategies are. Okay, so basically, this guy Tom Frieden, former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, say that we're basically responding to the short term. It's basically we're reacting to what's happening now, and that's why what I keep telling people. And and this is not just about this pandemic. I mean, if you know the science of pandemics, you know that there are more of them that happen each year, and this has been happening for decades. Back in the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, there were far fewer pandemics than there are now. Probably because there were far fewer factory farms, but to be really safe with this, we have to really, end farming of animals completely. And as I said before, we've been given this godsend of cultured meat, lab-grown meat that just, we just discovered this or proved that it's possible in 2013. The Washington Post isn't talking about it, the New York Times isn't talking about it. That's why, these publications would have you believe that they're progressive, liberal, whatever. They're not all that much. They're defending their financial interests, which is, and part of the mess we're in is because the rich, control this country, control the world. And one thing that the rich aren't stupid. That's how they become rich, and they know that that a lot of what they do is just wrong. They know this, but what they do is they unconsciously, consciously, directly, indirectly, corrupt others, corrupt us all, get us all to eat like, um, factory farmed meat, get us all to, abort children, things like that. Because to the extent that they do that, to ignore poverty, to the extent that that everybody is complicit in these major, major evils, then they don't seem as culpable. They don't, you can't single them out. But you can single them out because they're in control of the world. I mean, not, God controls the world, nobody has a free will. That notwithstanding, the rich, powerful really need to be held accountable for this. And like, part of the solution is to stop giving them the power to stop us from doing things that would prevent these pandemics. For example, like starting with Reagan in 1980, they started gutting science, and if that hadn't happened, if the Republicans, if there had never been a Republican president since Reagan, the two Bushes and Reagan, and now this moron, we probably wouldn't be in this mess. Because, again, the Democrats have a lot that we could do better, but we tend to respect science. Okay, so this guy, Tom Friedan, says, like, people ask him, well, what is the one thing we can do? And he says, no, there's not one thing, there's a lot of things that we need to do. And and they're basically, it's not going to be a return to quote unquote normal, apparently. It's a different kind of normal. Oh, like, so there's this photograph of this field, which is pretty cool. They have like all these circles, and the circles are like 6 feet away from each other, and then people are within the circles. That's smart. Yeah, that idea came to me actually a while back. I didn't promote it at all. So obvious. And like, I was thinking they should bolt like benches in places, 6 feet apart and stuff, so people could congregate that way. Okay, America now finds itself in a moment of transition. Yes, transition from the rich and powerful leading us all to hell, or our being smart enough and good enough to wake up and see what's happening. So like it's saying, infections are declining in some states, but in other states they're actually rising. So, and this is in part about the opening. Many experts have warned that we are opening too early. And so, these next waves are to be expected because of that. Okay, what's missing during this interlude, experts say, is a sense of urgency. And that, again, with Trump, we have a shortage of tests. We have a shortage of masks. We have a shortage of thermometers. I've been going into CVS trying to buy one for weeks, and they don't have them. And Trump refuses to basically invoke his War Powers Act to mandate that these companies, retool from whatever they're making, to make these products. And so, like, that's the exact opposite of the sense of urgency. That's a sense of dismissal and ignorance and ignoring this entire thing. The man is so stupid. And then, my God, I mean, like, the people who voted for him, you can't, I mean, like, yeah, the Democrats have not been as good to working class people as they should have. Granted, but so many people just jumped from the frying pan into the fire with Trump. I mean, like, and how could they know that? How could they not know that, like, somebody who was so vile as to talk to people the way he does, wasn't going to be a horrible president? I mean, like, all right, so let's see what else. So, yeah, so like, there's going to be unemployment, blows to our economy and to our mental health. And the mental health thing is, I haven't, followed up. I saw an article today. I didn't read it. I just saw the headline that the young are being affected, emotionally by this. And one thing we could do, for example, like we've got to create jobs. I mean, like let's create these like health coaches. They don't have to be, experiments in the 60s and 70s demonstrated you don't have to be an expert in psychology, a therapist, trained therapist, to be able to very effectively, for example, lift people out of depression. That's one of the findings that they came up with, that they discovered. Okay, what's concerning is I don't see any signs the federal government has learned any lessons and is doing anything differently to prepare for the next waves. Again, that's this is Erwin Redliner, director of Columbia University's National Center for Disaster Preparedness. Okay. So yeah, this article says we need to shift our response from short-term crisis management to long-term solutions. No, we need to do both. It's not like, there's no reason we can't do both. And again, that's such a lame kind of like a statement to appear in the Post, as if we can't do both. Let's see. Communities should be thinking about installing doors that don't require grasping a handle. That's an interesting kind of like, I never thought about that. Like you press I guess it's a foot pedal type thing or something like that. And re-engineering traffic signals so pedestrians don't have to push crosswalk. Nobody like pushes crosswalk buttons. I mean, well, most people don't do that. Now, some people, I guess, do that. Yeah, they do have that someplace. So what else? Okay, so apparently they're going to move robots into the meat packing plants, the slaughterhouses. But that's not going to like prevent the virus, because basically what happens is like before the animals get to the slaughterhouses, the bats and rats or snakes, whatever wild animals infect them, have done their worst. Then that's where the pandemic develops. It's not it's not actually in the plants in the slaughterhouses. Although the workers are getting infected because there's no precaution, to protect them. They're probably very close together. Okay. Families may have to make diagnostic tests routine ahead of visits to grandparents. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, unfortunately, like, now they're talking about like, they have these cubicles in offices that basically are just like, they're little cells, I guess. You're stuck there. You can't see other people either, and it's not like, in an office you have four walls, but they may be like, 8 feet away from you. It's a relatively, substantial room, but these cubicles, I mean, there's no room, So that would be unfortunate to have to do that, replacing the open floor plans. No, you don't have to, like, again, that's a stupid thing. In other words, like, you can maintain the open floor plans, just space people 15 feet apart. Forget the 6 feet. You shouldn't like impose on people by setting them off by cubicles, when there are much more humane ways to get, keep workers safe. Paid sick time might become a necessity. Yes, that makes sense. I mean, like, we're going to a whole new deal. And so, like, it's just a matter of time till this order that got us in this mess is just gone, till the leaders who got us in this mess are replaced by leaders who know what they're doing and who care, who are actually moral. Okay. This is interesting. And heading to work while under the weather may no longer be seen as an act of admirable American can-do spirit. Yes, I mean, when you're sick, stay home. I mean, like, don't be a hero, and just compromise your health and the health of others. And this is like before the pandemic, during and after. Okay. So he's talking about like the need for quick response systems. So like when this happens again, that we're much more prepared, and I guess that means stockpiling tests and masks and whatever else we need. Okay. The metrics being employed, to measure the number of deaths, hospitalization rates and all, are actually behind, the actual transmission by 1 to 3 weeks. So I don't know if they can improve that. We need better data. Okay. It blows my mind that we still don't have it, Kobe said. And Kobe is the University of Chicago epidemiologist whose models have been used by Illinois leaders. So we've got 7 more minutes on this. And this is good because, I didn't know what to say. I mean, again, not much is happening. This is at least I can, just relate some information that seems relatively useful, important. Okay, so they say that we need more sophisticated testing strategies, and it doesn't really increasing our speed and ability to detect surges. It doesn't really go into specifics of that. It doesn't allow you to put on the, so then, testing pregnant women to measure the asymptomatic spread of the virus. I don't really understand what that's about. The women could be an ideal sample testing population because they already visit hospitals for delivery and maternity checkups. Okay, guess that's why that is. Living long-term with the virus also means addressing the mental health effects. Yeah, I mean, of course there are going to be increases in depression and anxiety. And some people believe that it's not just a temporary thing. Some people believe that there's, for example, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that might get worse. I don't know. We have the resources to keep everybody sane and happy and not fearful, but that requires the Washington Post and New York Times and other so-called progressive papers to write encouraging, instructive, informative pieces instead of just dwelling on the negative. Okay, let's see what else. So yeah, people the problem is that people think that, oh yeah, once we get a vaccine, we're out of, that's it, it's all done. But apparently this article is saying no. So the world, now it's talking about smallpox. Basically it was eradicated by a vaccine, but it took 2 centuries after the discovery of that vaccine to vanquish smallpox. Huh. So this is definitely God, saying, hey, enough with the torturing and abusing and horribly mistreating these farm animals. Enough with probably a lot of other, again, the abortion, 50 million abortions a year, just leaving 1 out of every 6 people almost to 1 out of every 7 maybe to live in extreme poverty where they don't get clean water, they don't get enough medicine, enough to eat, enough education. I mean, these are problems that should have been solved decades ago. They could have been solved. We've had the resources to solve them for decades. We just are not good people collectively. And so this is God telling us, hey, enough with that. Okay. So let's see. So 3.5 more minutes. So now they're thinking in time frames. What could be done before next winter, and then what could be done for the year after that? Success of these vaccines will hinge on distribution. Yes, I mean, no duh. You have to get them to people, otherwise, you know, how are they going to be effective? Now, here's interesting. Roughly 60 to 80% of the world's population needs to be inoculated to reach herd immunity. Oh, yeah, I don't know why they talk about that, because that's a bit different than the vaccine. Okay. Yeah, they're criticizing the government's rollout of remdesivir, you know, trying to make it confusing, unfair, lacking transparency, whatever. I haven't been following that. All right, so anyway, yeah, all right, this is the point. Looking further down the road, many experts believe it's critical that US leaders start planning for the next pandemic now, even as they contend with this one. No. The point, and this article goes on, but I don't have time, I'm running out of time. Basically, the idea is like, let's not prevent future pandemics, let's from killing us. Let us prevent future pandemics from happening by ending factory farming. You know, I mean, this is such a no-brainer, but again, we're living in a world where people are not all that bright, and you know, again, I don't blame any of us because we don't have a free will. That's just, you know, how things are. But if we're going to be safe from this, we need to make more intelligent decisions. We need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to vote for leaders that respect science and understand what needs to be done. All right, a minute left. I guess that's it for now. And again, I don't know what the rest of the article said. I saw it before. I didn't read the entire thing, but it's in the Washington Post today. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. The show is on White Plains Community Media, channel 76 Optimum, 45 Verizon, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. And it's available through their website. And I upload the episodes to YouTube every once in a while. And I hope you had a good day, and that you're keeping safe. And use Zoom, you know, like if you need to connect with people, you know, it's just on a Bible study with one of the rabbis, Rabbi Bronstein of Bedam Shalom here in White Plains. Yeah, it's good, you know, as long as we can't, you know, congregate physically, we might as well congregate virtually through platforms like Zoom. All right, take care, and I will see you tomorrow night.